Welcome to Series 2 of the Understanding Boys podcast. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. In Series 2, we speak to young people about life and their stories. What do these boys and girls think it is to be a good man these days? And if you had a story that you could tell an adult and they'd listen, what would that story be? In these short interviews, we explore these questions and much, much more. I'm Dr. Ray Swan and I hope you enjoy Series 2 of Understanding Boys. In this podcast, we speak with Juliet. Juliet is a real adventurer. She talks about her sailing experiences, working on a boat, being out at sea, and through this, what she's learnt about her relationship with her father. She talks a bit about what it is to be a good man, about society and schools and impact on raising boys. She talks a little bit about what she's discovered herself during the period of lockdown in Melbourne, Australia. I hope you enjoy the podcast today. Juliet, welcome to the Understanding Boys podcast. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
So I just wanted, we're obviously recording this in a really strange time, and that is that all of Melbourne is in lockdown and we're, right deep in, stage 4 restrictions and, there's COVID and, things have really changed. How are you finding things?
Yeah, so I found lockdown pretty challenging. I think it sort of started off as a bit of a fun experience when no one took COVID really seriously and like staying at home, doing school in bed and things, going out with friends during free periods was pretty fun. But recently, during like stage 3 and stage 4, has become a bit more challenging. And it's meant that like sport and things has either been cancelled or changed to one-on-one sessions with a coach. So seeing friends face-to-face is a lot harder to organise.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I sometimes sort of not sure exactly where I am in the week or in the year. Like it feels like a bit of a blur.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird. No one's ever experienced it. So I think everyone's just trying to get through it at the moment. But yeah.
One of the things I was wondering, and I was actually reflecting on this for myself, like, when you can't do things, I guess there's one or two things that you sort of realise, that's actually something that I'm really missing. Is there anything that you're really missing at the moment in lockdown?
Yeah, definitely. I think like the face-to-face interaction with friends and people my age is I'm missing a lot because I'd take it for granted sometimes and only see people during like sport and stuff out of school, and not catch up during like after school or on the weekends. But yeah, I think I'm definitely missing that the most. So that's been pretty challenging, trying to sort of keep those connections with people.
I was talking to my daughter and she was saying that, she's used to think, I'd never use it's not Teams on Facebook. What's the one on Facebook? Anyway, she was saying she was using that and thinks it's now okay. And I don't know if you found any good technology that's been able to enable you to talk to more people.
Yeah, during school, like our school use Microsoft Teams, so we're able to call each other during class and work together for schoolwork and stuff. So that's been kind of fun, working together and things. And
has there been anything that on the other side of it that maybe you've discovered about yourself, or actually something that you've, with this extra time and solo time, that maybe you actually, you like doing?
Well, I've done a little bit of sewing in the past and I feel like I've gotten into that a lot more recently, which has been really fun to sort of get back into because I don't have as much homework and things like that, so I've got time after school to do those sort of things. So, yeah, I'm finding that really fun.
Yeah, that's great. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because with the distance learning, so much of what we do, like, going, like traveling to school or walking between classes, all that sort of disappears and materializes. So you actually, like, you can still do a lot of work and actually still have a lot of time. I noticed that myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you sewing at the moment?
I've been doing a lot of masks, and I've just been looking up some sort of fun little things. I've been making bucket hats for my brother and my dad, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are they terry toweling, like those really soft ones, floppy bucket hats, or?
And no, I couldn't get the material because Spotlight was shut down, but unfortunately, yeah, I've been just making it out of what I've got, so
yeah,
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic. And one of the things I was going to ask you a bit about was, and it might be a bit hard to kind of cast forward with this one, but I know a lot of the younger people I've been speaking to, with extra time and reflection and thinking and, also dreaming, it's a good time to sort of dream about what may be and, what could happen and, get some interest around, sort of the future stuff. Have you thought about, your adult life more broadly, where you might want to go or what sort of work you might be interested in doing?
Yeah, definitely. I've been really sporty ever since I was little, and at the moment it's been around like running because I'm still able to do that. But I think my dream job would be to travel as a physio for a sports team. So, yeah, hopefully that could happen one day. But
yeah, that'd be fantastic. And do you have a particular choice of sport?
Well, I've talked to people that have done it around the AFL, and that seems really cool because I used to play when I was little. So, yeah, that'd be really cool. But anything, I guess, traveling and sport related would be a dream job.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. That sounds fantastic, just to be able to, and see the different parts of the world and, work alongside people and to look after them in that capacity. That sounds amazing. I know you've done a little bit of sailing. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right.
So what's the longest that you've been on a boat? Or is it a yacht?
So around 2 years ago, I did a delivery from Hobart to Sydney.
Wow.
On Kiloa 2, which is a boat my dad sails on for the Sydney to Hobart race. And I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to do the delivery for the boat with Dad, and that went for about 6 days almost. So, that was probably the longest I've ever sailed.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, just a really basic question. Like, what does it work like when you're sort of on and when you're off, like working? Because I imagine if you're on a boat, it's 24 hours a day out in sea. Like, is it shifts or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's watches. So I think what we had was, I'm not sure the exact time, but you have a specific amount of hours on and off. So just say it was like 4 hours on, 6 hours off. We would be up on deck. Half of us would be up on deck for that 6 hours, and then we'd all swap over after the watch had finished and go to bed and get our rest and then wake up again and start sailing again. So,
wow. Yeah,
that's sort of how it works.
That would have been amazing. What was the sea? Was it rough or smooth?
Yeah, so coming around Bass Strait was really a big experience because the conditions you hear about coming in Bass Strait are usually not the best. So we got to experience that a little bit. And
I mean, it sounds like an amazing, just such an amazing experience. I think for a lot of people, myself included, I've been fishing on a boat, out in Port Phillip Bay or whatever, but I've never been actually properly out at sea where you can't see land. Was that scary, like being out at sea? You can't see land?
I think for some people it could be a bit confronting, but for me, being like out in the ocean, like surrounded by water, not being able to see land is the most rewarding feeling. And for me, it feels like I'm really safe when I'm around the ocean. And I think sharing that experience with my dad as well is something I'll never forget because we always hear about Dad's point of view of what he thinks when he's out there, but me being out there with him like I get to share that opinion and memory. Yeah, so it was something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that would have been really really exhilarating, I reckon, just that excitement and just being completely out in the elements like that, out with the big waves in those sort of conditions. So
yeah, it's an incredible experience.
It's pretty fantastic. You've got a good relationship with your dad. I reckon that's really great. And obviously you've got a strong connection, and you're able to do things like, and he obviously puts a lot of faith and trust in you to take you on a potentially pretty challenging 6 days of sailing. What is it about your dad that you really respect?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that I respect him because, we've always been close and stuff, but especially in the past few years, I think we've become a lot closer, and we just found similar interests and things we enjoy, and I really look up to him because I've come across some like men in public or some people in public that are really disrespectful to girls, young girls especially. And
Right.
I feel that's really sad, but it makes me cherish those relationships I have with men in my family or any of Dad's friends who are all really supportive. So, I think that's really important that I have those relationships, and I think I respect our relationships more because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like because he shows respect, he also he's respected and he's respectable.
Yeah.
By doing that. Yeah, that's really fantastic. And in terms of his, obviously he's like a lot of dads, busy and working, and he's got a whole lot of things to think about in his life as well. I mean, how does he find time, for you guys are there particular things that he does that, help to build the relationship?
Yeah, well, I think being close with him and having similar interests and things that we enjoy is really helpful because he'll go out on the boat on the weekend and I'll want to come, so that makes being together really easy, and having that bond and things. I want to hang out with him, so obviously if he goes somewhere and wants me to come, I'll go with him. So I think that makes it a lot easier for both my brother and I to have that experience with him.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm interested, Juliet, talking, you were saying, and it's always sad to hear about, men not being respectful, particularly to other people and particularly to younger women and girls. Like, what is it on the other side, though, to be a good man these days?
Yeah, well, I think it's all the obvious things that, like, being a gentleman, respecting people and having empathy for people, but also make an effort to, like, be a good role model to the next generation for boys my age and my brother's age. I think it's really important, and setting an example.
Yeah, so that really speaks to, like, doing good things. That's what I'm hearing you say there. Like, someone who really does good things is a real key.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think, just do schools and, does society more generally help young boys to grow into good men?
Yeah, I definitely think in Brighton Grammar, my brother goes there, so I obviously see a little bit of what happens, and I think that there's definitely a big push there to raise, like, young men the right way and have them grow up to be, good men that respect people, and
And my last question today, Juliet, is if you had a story that you could tell a parent or advice and they'd listen, because parents, let's be honest, apart from your dad, and your mum's pretty good too, but, the parents don't always listen, but if they could listen, what would you say?
I think coming from me would just be allow your kids to make mistakes and have some freedom, because I think that's what being a kid's all about, and just makes life fun. And
Great. Fantastic advice. Juliet, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure having you on the Understanding Boys podcast.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed this Understanding Boys podcast. Make sure you subscribe on your podcast app and please leave us a review to help grow the community. For more information about the podcast, please visit understandingboys.com.au. Until next time, thanks for listening.